In my line of work, the real estate business, you can see a lot of properties, different stages, different states. Some end up a success story, some not so much. There is a real magic between saving the existing and creating something that people can use. But the time, money, and details that go into bringing those things to market are phenomenal. And they're getting more and more complex as time goes by. You know, I saw this property and I realized that, 1.5 acres of undeveloped residential land steps from the river was a total underutilization of the property. So initially, the first people who I sold it to, they were contemplating just flattening everything. This house, the house next door, and building condos right out to the road. There's always a fine edge between development and saving what's important or what's beautiful. But of course, all the buildings that are originally in the core are very inefficient and small, and have all sorts of limitations. So the magic is kind of working those existing beautiful buildings into something new that people can live or will want to live in. Because it doesn't matter how creative you are, if you bring the product to market and it's not what people want, they won't buy it, and then it's no longer economically viable.
If we don't preserve our history, what is at stake is we lose the link to who we are. So that's part of heritage conservation, is stewarding a property, taking care of it so that you can pass it down to the next generation. So that's what the pioneers of the town of Galt have done for us. We think we owe it to them to conserve their buildings so that we can pass them down to future generations. The Concession Street property is important to save because it helps to link our past with our future. It was built in 1887 by Edward Wilkins, and he was fairly prominent here in the city of Cambridge, or would have been the town of Galt at that particular time. He owned a clothing store with a couple of his brothers down on Main Street, just off the Main Street Bridge. And Edward was also town councillor for 8 years as well, and that included being assistant reeve. So a reeve basically would be considered an assistant mayor. So if the mayor was out of town, Edward would take over those duties. So he was quite prominent here in town, and he built that house for his family, and it's a very good example of an Italianate architectural style. The fenestrations on it are quite unique. They're very intricate. And because it was so intricate in its detailing, it kind of gave us a sense of just how prominent Edward Wilkins and his family were. And to be able to save these properties and incorporate them into new developments helps us to link the past with the future.
So the new developers, Greentown Developments, they decided that, what would be really cool is if we maintained this heritage structure and work that into a really high-end, upscale, modern-looking development with this as the gateway to the development. Unfortunately, the house is in the wrong spot on the property. We had lots of different people, planners and space planners, and look at it and try to rework it. Nothing worked. And then, I don't know who came up with it. One day we were just kind of sitting around going, well, we could always move the house, right? And everybody was like, yeah, actually, that's a good idea. So not an easy chore, not an inexpensive chore, but it saves the house. It really makes the development special then. So now when you buy one of these units, and you pull into, you're going to pull past this heritage house, but then it's also going to open up into a really ultra-modern looking condo development behind it.